6 p.m. in Tokombere in the far north region of Cameroon. Same time right here in Akwadwala. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 6 p.m. edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe television. Our major stories tonight: widespread protest grips Yaoundé and Garoua as supporters of opposition candidate Issa Chuma Bakari take to the streets to contest the alleged election results favoring Paul Biya. Security forces have responded with force, deploying water cannons and heavy patrols to quell the unrest. Amidst allegations of electoral fraud, protesters are demanding justice, transparency and accountability. Away from that, the ongoing silence from Elections Cameroon ELECAM regarding allegations of electoral fraud has sparked widespread outrage, with calls for the body's dissolution intensifying on social media. Critics question the hypocrisy of ELECAM officials who preach peace while allegedly manipulating election results, further eroding trust in the electoral process. Those are top stories tonight. The news in full in a jiffy. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television, and for presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. 9 years after the devastating Ezeka train crash that claimed numerous lives and left many survivors with permanent physical disabilities, residents are still waiting for the government to fulfill its promises. As we mark the anniversary of the tragic incident on October 21st, 2025, locals are urging the government to take concrete actions and honor its commitments. Smajikan Gabriel reports.
It was a calm and quiet Ezeka town that we met on a day many were hoping to have a symbolic event to remember the deadly train crash that took away the lives of many and left some physically disabled for life. At the start, we were fooled, as every year they came and organized the ceremony. At the train station of Ezeka, no major changes have been made since the incident occurred, but things are instead getting worse. We were expecting something extraordinary because apart from the VIP train that leaves Douala to Yaoundé, the others can stay even a day on the road before arriving their destination. On that black October 21st, 2016, the Minister of Public Health, who visited the Ezeka hospital during the incident, promised upgrading the hospital with sophisticated equipment of first-class generation, owing to the fact that many who died was as a result of the lack of adequate facilities. 9 years on, just the name of the hospital has been upgraded. At the level of the hospital, the last time the minister came here, he said the hospital is now lifted to the annex of Ezeka, and we have been asking for equipment since then, to no avail. The only thing which stands tall in memory of the Ezeka train crash victim is a monument which hasn't been given an uplift since it was constructed.
Smart Jikan Gabriel reporting. They are now to one of our major lead stories. Protests have started erupting in different parts of the country ahead of the proclamation of official results of the October 12 presidential election in Cameroon. Some of the young people who went protesting against electoral fraud in Yaoundé today were arrested by the police. Our reporter takes a look at the growing tension and calls for peace from across the socio-political divide. His report, Babila Jonathan. We'll be coming back to this report of Babila Jonathan in this edition of the news. Now we move to Gara, where protests were equally reported in that part of the country. And these people went out to protest against what they call as an alleged proclamation of the results, which gives favor to the current president, Paul Biya. According to them, Issa Chuma Bakari is the right person who won the October 12 presidential elections, as Siri Chakutio tells us.
As official results continue to be awaited, sporadic protests have erupted across the country, fueled by persistent allegations of electoral fraud and a general sense of tension and distrust in the democratic process. In Garoua, north region of the country, inhabitants armed with stones went to the street demanding the respect of their will during the presidential elections. Videos circulating on social media show riots, tear gas, canisters, and scenes of violence. The previous day, thousands took to the streets to celebrate the victory of Issa Chiroma Bakari, who proclaimed himself winner in the October 12 presidential election. The inhabitants are carrying banners featuring pictures of Issa Chiroma Bakari as their third president. They could be heard chanting Issa Chiroma's name. These events happens as the Constitutional Council prepares to deliver the final and official results of the 2025 presidential elections.
And apart from Garua, protests equally erupted in Yaoundé, where some of the young people who went protesting against electoral fraud in Yaoundé today were arrested by the police. Our reporter, Babla Jonathan, takes a look at the growing tension and calls for peace from across the socio-political divide. His report.
Anger rising in Cameroon's political capital Yaoundé over allegations of electoral fraud. Law enforcement officers are deployed to crush any uprising. They have arrested several young people who took to the streets around the police school and other parts of the city. They are braving police repression to defend what they consider as the truth of the ballot box, the announced victory of Issa Chiroma Bakari. As the tension curve takes an upward trend, calls for peace are also rising, especially from within the ruling party and the administration.
We know you are bitter. We know your hearts are flaring with a lot of anger. But please express that with some caution. We have only this country, Cameroon. That's our country. You can't have your country and you destroy it yourself. Some areas have started. Some of us are victims of what happened in the Northwest and Southwest. That started like a joke. 8 years today, where are we? So the rest of the country, we should take example of the Northwest and Southwest and say peace is the only option.
Meantime, observers question the sincerity of calls for peace from militants of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, CPDM, and the administration.
It's a paradox that the same people who are asking for peace are the same people who have orchestrated the fraud that is subverting the will of the people, and that's unacceptable.
You can be angry, you can be bitter, you might have been, hurt in one way or the other. Coming back with violence should not be the solution, because it might also consume you.
US-based Cameroon-born lawyer, Barrister Are Obenson, points to the fact that the way to peace is to do what is correct.
For there to be peace, there must be the prevalence of justice, of good conscience and equity. So if we say we want peace, then let us respect the will of the people. Let the will of the people that was expressed on October 12th be upheld.
He calls on the Constitutional Council to save the nation from impending chaos by upholding justice.
It's an instance of justice. Article 47 of the Constitution of Cameroon provides a role that the Constitutional Council must play. It cannot just declare results that it knows that are fraudulent. The purpose of the judiciary is to uphold justice.
The Constitutional Council has just a few days to proclaim official results of the October 12 presidential election.
And the same vein, the Union for Change Cameroon 2025 warns against chaos that could emanate if the Constitutional Council President proclaims Mr. Paul Biya as the winner of the October 12 presidential elections over Issa Chiroma Bakari. The reaction comes after supposed results circulating on social media puts President Paul Biya at the top with 53.67%, while Chiroma scores 35.19%. And he said the Canet president of the Union for Change Cameroon 2025 advises Clemanga Tangana to take care and not plunge the nation into turmoil. More with Innocent Aze.
As Cameroonians patiently await proclamation of the October 12, 2025 presidential election results with mixed feelings, what has been qualified by Cameroonians and civil society leaders as test results are largely published on social media by the National Committee for Votes Counting, aimed at measuring the reactions of the population, as incumbent President Paul Biya in the result is the winner with a total of 2,474,179 votes, equivalent to 53.66%, while Issa Chiroma Bakari is second with 1,622,334 votes, standing at 35.19%.
Vraiment, donner 54% à M. Biya contre 37% à Issa Chiroma qui les a tous écrasés, c'est que le ridicule ne tue pas.
In reaction, the Union for Change Cameroon 2025, led by Anisede Kane, is sending out a serious warning to those trying to manipulate Chiroma's landslide victory to favor a 92-year-old man a people is fed up with.
On ne peut pas venir allumer le feu.
You can't lit fire and call others to extinguish it.
Venir l'éteindre. En prononçant,
attempting to pronounce such a verdict, 53% for Paul Biya and 35% for Chiroma, is nothing else but incitement of revolt.
De l'incitation à la révolte. On appuie dessus.
The Union for Change Cameroon 2025 will be on the side of the people if such results are proclaimed by the Constitutional Council.
Manifestera son mécontentement.
Anisede Kane reiterates the warning to the Constitutional Council, urging its president not to blunder.
Alors on redit encore à Tangana, no make erreur.
We repeat to Clément Atangana to be very careful, except you want to put the country in chaos, because we know it is possible with the regime.
Dans le chaos.
He furthers that this election was different from the previous ones, with a massive defeat of Paul Biya, who has since refused to call Issa Chiroma and congratulate him. All we know is that they are working hard to ensure that the Constitutional Council declares Paul Biya the winner at all costs.
De corser la situation en tentant de proclamer Biya vainqueur. Non, make erreur, Monsieur Tangana.
While addressing this message to the Cameroonian people, the Union for Change Cameroon 2025 wishes for a peaceful handing over of power to the rightful winner, Issa Chiroma Bakari, massively elected by the people, for peace to continue reigning in the Republic of Cameroon.
Innocent as reporting there, and as calls for fair and transparent presidential results continue to emerge from across Cameroon, Barrister Christian Timban Bomo has called on Cameroon's Constitutional Council to consider return reports from all political parties, not just that of the ruling regime, when validating presidential election results. He also urged that all candidates present during the official announcement should promote transparency. More with A.C. Luciliengo.
In a recent outing on his Facebook handle, Barrister Christian Timban Bomo urges the Constitutional Council and all the bodies involved in managing the elections to avoid relying solely on official return reports when determining the outcome of the presidential election. The prominent Cameroonian lawyer also calls on the council to consider the data gathered by representatives of various political parties, each of whom has their own records from polling stations across the country. He argues that doing so will strengthen transparency and public confidence in the final results. Barrister Timban Bomo's remarks comes within the context of heightened tension across the country few days to the proclamation of the presidential results. He cites Article 137 of the Electoral Code, which stipulates that
the Constitutional Council shall adopt and proclaim the results of the presidential election within no more than 15 days of the close of the poll.
He furthers that the legal provision places full responsibility on the Constitutional Council to officially determine and announce the results based on a comprehensive and impartial review of all available data.
The Council must act merely on transmitted figures, he noted, it must cross-check and validate the information in the presence of the parties concerned, as the law requires.
According to the legal mind, any deviation from this procedure would amount to a breach of the law and could compromise the legitimacy of the electoral process.
And following the continuous silence from Elections Cameroon on cases of fraud implicating ELECAM agents and some officials, reactions have been streaming on social media calling on Elections Cameroon to be dissolved. Malaglari compiled these reactions of some media personnel in Cameroon accusing ELECAM of igniting tension and violence in the country. Her report.
Christophe Bobiokono, editor-in-chief of Kalara newspaper, wrote on his Facebook handle that ELECAM should be dissolved and its officials stopped from interfering in ELECAM matters. In a viral video, the veteran journalist added that Elections Cameroon should protect its reputation by denouncing electoral fraud.
Le minimum pour une institution qui tient à son image et qui est censée.
For an institution like ELECAM that wants to protect its public image, it is expected not only to organize free, fair and transparent elections, but to do everything to denounce irregularities and rigging, as well as engage legal proceedings against ill-intended individuals.
C'est-à-dire que ELECAM est même dans la possibilité d'engager des procédures judiciaires.
Emergence newspaper on its part revealed why ELECAM should be dissolved. To this news edition, if there is any violence in Cameroon, it will be the fault of Elections Cameroon, which is in charge of electoral process in the country. Just like these media organs, many have gone to their Facebook page calling on the dissolvement of Elections Cameroon. This comes after Cameroonians have been denouncing electoral fraud in different polling stations across the country, implicating ELECAM agents and officials. However, the National Vote Counting Commission has officially concluded with the vote counting, and it was handed to the Constitutional Council, who will be proclaiming the official results of the presidential elections in the days ahead.
The report done by Malaglari ends this first part of the news. Talking Point comes up next. My guest tonight on Talking Point is the president of the Returnee Diaspora Professors. He goes by the name Emeritus Professor Nicodemus through AWASOM. Good evening. It's a pleasure to have you on Talking Point tonight.
Good evening, Fogwe. It's a pleasure for me to be here to respond to your questions. I'm excited to be back home. I am the president of the Association of Returnee Diaspora Professors who came home purposely for this election because we see it as crucial, as a turning point in the history of this country. That's why we're here.
Professor AWASOM, are you anxious to know the outcome of the October 12 presidential elections, which will be proclaimed by the Constitutional Council President Clement Atangana on Thursday?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed for asking me this question. I think that there's no room for me to be worried. I say so because under normal circumstances, somebody who has been in power, Mr. Biya, for 43 years and is 93 years, should not be looking forward to the position of president anymore. So under normal circumstances, he is not supposed to aspire any longer because he is not the only Cameroonian under the sun that can do that job. We need a fresher thinking. We need a new direction. I say so because for the past 7 years or so, this country has been going down and down the drain. We have been facing diminishing returns, and there's no doubt about the fact that Mr. Biya has really nothing to offer to Cameroonians. I'm not anxious.
Issa Chiruma really launched a fantastic campaign. I've never seen that before in this country, except 1992. His campaign was a grassroots campaign. He was everywhere. He touched all the provinces, unlike Mr. Bia, who just spent some short time in the far north and then disappeared in the blues. So in terms of real campaigning, we realized that the person who was the people's choice, the person who cared about the people, touched all the provinces of our country, or rather, sorry, all the regions of our country. So we really have to give him that credit, and we therefore have to bank in him to carry this country forward. He's a charismatic leader. We trust him.
Given the incumbent's track record on issues like poverty, underdevelopment, and rising unemployment, many others share the same view, as they think he's not fit for the position. Ultimately, the decision lies with Cameroonian people who went out to vote massively on October 12th. If the incumbent secures majority of the votes, that means he gets another clear mandate. In the same vein, now, while waiting for the proclamation of the results of October 12 presidential elections, there is a proliferation of communiques and summons of community leaders and imams by administrative authorities. What could be behind the authorities' recent flurry of communiques and summons of community leaders, according to you?
I think that this is a way of stirring fear in the population. All those communiques, I don't find any value in them, for the simple reason that if you are organizing free and fair elections, you don't have to be doing all what you are doing, particularly when you have to target certain communities, ethnic groups for what I would call political education. It's not okay. You don't have to single out certain people and talk to them about peace and so on. I've witnessed presidential elections in Ghana. I've witnessed presidential elections elsewhere in Africa. And it's just like what we call a daily occurrence. It's just like any other day. On the day that elections are to be proclaimed, you don't find people teaching people how to uphold peace, etc., etc. If the elections are actually free and fair, and if the institutions responsible for vote counting are honest, then they don't need to do all what they are doing. The way they are behaving is as if they have skeletons in their cupboard. It's as simple as that. That's the reading we can make out of it. And we must always know that this Cameroon belongs to all of us. It does not belong to a group, to an oligarchy, to people who want to remain in power forever. It's not fair. Think of other Cameroonians. When you are talking about peace, 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 you have to work towards peace by being transparent, by being honest. It's as simple as that. Why are you calling for peace, peace? Now, who is responsible for what you call the opposite of peace? The opposite of peace is chaos, is war. It's social disturbance, it's social upheaval. Who is responsible for social upheavals? So we have to be careful with calling for peace when we are provoking chaos.
And how do you feel about the recent calls for peace by people, as you rightly said, who are largely the same persons orchestrating violence through fraud? What's your feeling about all this?
Thank you very much indeed. You see, when you read the political thermometer in Cameroon, it is hot. And we've had calls from people like Chimbembe and among other diaspora scholars who have called upon Cameroonians to make sure that they defend their votes. Now, the call for peace, amongst other issues, is because of what I would call the mass movement that the supposed winner of the elections, Issa Bakari, has been able to do, is mobilize people to the extent that there is this popular feeling from the polls, particularly the primary polls, and from the diaspora, that he is the winner. So with this feeling, with this what we call a domino effect, one group to the other, and there's this widespread feeling that there is a winner, which is Chiruma, it becomes very difficult to contain what I'll call the ocean of sentiments, because the ocean is now moving towards one direction, and it's therefore scary for those who are in power. So I think that the call for peace is not that legitimate, but what will be more legitimate is if we can respect the people's votes. I think that's where the problem really lies. And the Cameroon exceptionality is that each time elections are organized, the government trumpets the same thing: peace, peace, peace. But what has the government been doing over the years about this peace issue? Over the years, the Cameroonians have been demonstrating dissatisfaction with the polling method, dissatisfaction with the way elections are conducted, because it's an election tuned for one person to win round the clock. And you win until you are 92 years old, you continue. No, it's not okay. It's not okay.
Bakari has rejected any result that doesn't declare him the winner of the October 12th presidential election. Meanwhile, post-electoral disputes will be heard at the Yaoundé Conference Center tomorrow, Wednesday. What are your thoughts on the opposition's petitions challenging the electoral process? We have cases like Tomino Damjoya, who is demanding the total cancellation of the 2025 presidential elections for massive fraud. And other candidates, before withdrawing their petitions, we have the case of Cabral Libi of the CPNR party, who had earlier demanded the partial cancellation of the polls in some areas where fraud was recorded. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Social Democratic Front, SDF party, Joshua Osi, had called for a relocation of most polling units from initial polling sites. What's your thoughts on this?
As long as you are a player and you are a referee, all of that adds up to nothing. The BR government is a player in the elections. The BR government is a referee in the elections. The BR government controls the courts. So there's no use getting into their camp. So Issa Bakari Chiruma is 100% correct. He doesn't need to go to the courts. There are two ways elections are conducted and counted. You have the ballot box and you also have the streets, what we call the popular will of the people. I think that these two methods have to be combined to fight the battle to the final, to finish. If Cameroonians don't take their destiny into their hands, it will be most unfortunate. You see, it's time that people stand up for the truth. And remember, the CPDM is Cameroonian, the opposition, they're Cameroonians, and so they know how to sort this matter out. Nobody should stand up to teach the other when it comes to this issue of elections, because it's about the sovereignty of the people, and sovereignty is in the people. So I think that, as far as I'm concerned, Issa Chiruma Bakari is perfectly correct not to go to the courts, not to go to the institutions which belong to one person, Mr. Biya. He manipulates the way he wants. He cuts the yam according to NSI. So it is stupid. I don't know, Cameroonians, don't you know how those things function? So what are you going to do there? You're going to look for what? So he says he's wrong. Let him defend his victory. It's a matter of fighting to finish. And if Cameroonians don't take responsibility into their hands now, it will be terrible.
We watched a report done by Sirisha Kutio where there was protest in Garwa. Same thing with a report done by Bable Jonathan where he announced that several persons were arrested during that protest confrontation. Given the recent unrest, what specific conditions can ensure peace after election results are announced in Cameroon or proclaimed in Cameroon?
Yeah, of course, we understand one thing, that the courts, if the courts can operate fairly, because it's about the institutions, the operation of the institutions, if they can operate fairly, if they don't operate like kangaroo courts, I think that we will not need to go to that stage. The second thing about peace, how do we manage the peace in case there is rioting, chaos, and so on and so forth? I think the answer is very, very simple. When we talk of peace, we should also talk of justice. We have to be fair. We have to be just. What most Cameroonians don't realize, and those in government in particular, is that when any problem starts, there is no discrimination. Those who are not involved, those who are involved, there will be collateral damages, etc., etc. So the government has a responsibility to ensure that it is fair, that it is transparent, that it is also convincing in the things that it does. But if you behave in a way that it is clear to the overwhelming majority of the people that you are dishonest, how do you want to manage that type of peace? When people are boiling, the psychology of it simply dictates that you try to address the issue by looking at what about the issue, what caused the issue. So the maintenance of peace is more or less the responsibility of the government, how the government is going to manage the elections, how the courts are going to operate, because as I indicated earlier, all the courts are under the control of one man, Mr. Biya. He has a yam and a knife. He can cut it the way he wants. So if peace has to be maintained, he should be careful that he behaves in such a way that Cameroonians trust in their institutions. Because as it is, when riots, chaos start, there is what we call the domino effect. From one area, it swings to the other area, it swings to the other area, and before we realize it, a type of change that nobody expected would happen, would occur. Because these elections in particular, let us be very, very clear about it, will not be like other elections in the past. The reaction of the opposition, it will be something totally novel. It's going to be new. All psychologists, sociologists, etc., will tell us that it's going to be totally new. If you are playing the ostrich with it, if the government is playing the ostrich with it, it's going to be very, very bad. So they have to be honest, they have to be frank, they have to be patriotic.
Exclusive interview with Emeritus Professor Nicodemus through AWASOM put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for always staying with us, staying in the company of interesting programs on Equinoxe TV. Bye-bye for now.